My earliest memory of a nightmare turned out to be a real break-in by some creep who was after my sister. So the title sounds like a no-sleep story, and that's the first thing I thought when I first found this out about 2 months ago. I've been busy dealing with the aftermath of a family tragedy since then, but now that things are returning to a new normal, I figure it's a good time to share. I'm sorry in advance for any formatting issues. I'm on my phone. Buckle in, this is a long one. First, I'll describe the nightmare. It's a very short dream, and like I said, it's a very clear memory just because of how scary it was. I was about 4 or 5 years old, perhaps 6 at most, and my twin brother and I had a bunk bed in a room at the furthest end of the house we grew up in. The nightmare had me in my bed, looking out the window to see a red sky, the kind that appears in the early dawn hours before sunrise, when light still colors the sky. The next and only other thing I remember from this nightmare is that a man with crazy blue-colored eyes and a bald head appears at the window and stares right at me. The nightmare ends there, but I remember just how much I screamed about it. I don't know where my brother was at the time when I woke up screaming, and the only thing I can remember from when I woke up was having my mom come and get me and calm me down as she took me to her bedroom down the hall. I only remember that so well because I wondered where my dad was at the time. Fast forward to this May. My father is in the hospital in the country he lives in, Colombia, and my twin brother and our older sister are staying in a hotel about a 5-minute walk away from the hospital where he's in the ICU. One night, after a long day of being there for Dad and for the extended family, my siblings and I return to the hotel and sit together to have a couple of beers and try to relax after all of that. We start discussing things, just trying to unwind, but somehow the discussion of nightmares and dreams comes up, and I bring up the above story. Without missing a beat, my sister straight up explains that this had really happened, that some guy really did look through my window, and that she remembers the whole thing. My sister, who is 5 years older than my brother and me, this would make her 9 to 10 years old, had her bedroom adjacent to the bedroom my brother and I shared. Her room faced our front lawn and the street, while our room faced the neighbor's house and their driveway, with a very low fence between the two houses. While she didn't get into too much detail about the days before this nightmare/event, she said that she had been followed by a bald man in a truck a couple of times before as she rode her bike home with some friends. The day immediately before this nightmare was no different, but this time the man actually drove right past the house. At the time, she was a latchkey kid since my brother and I had to go to a special school about 45 minutes away from our hometown for a speech impediment that many twins have, and my mom had to pick us up rather than be home for my sister after school, but she was never home alone for more than an hour. That afternoon and evening was pretty normal, as she remembers it. My dad came home from his job. He worked as a part-time cop and also in a local hardware store. And we all had dinner, did homework, played, and did the usual family things before bed. That night, around 12 to 1 a.m., this bald-headed dude had parked down the street at a small industrial park and walked up to our house and tried to get in through my sister's window, which woke her up. She screamed when she saw the man nearly opening the window, as it wasn't locked. My dad stormed in and tried to shove the guy out or hit him with the nightstick he had. My sister doesn't remember exactly, and this caused the guy to run off, but only for a short time, as he came back a moment later to try and get into the window in my room. He tried opening the window, but it was locked because my mom didn't want my brother and me to open it since our bed was right up against it. My sister said I screamed as loud as I could, and my mom went in to get my brother and me while my dad tried to go after him by running out the front door to chase him, but to no avail as the guy bolted right through our backyard. The way our backyard was situated had it backed up right against a small rail yard that is part of the aforementioned small industrial park down the street from us. Between our small neighborhood and that rail yard was a good amount of very dense trees that always made the backyards very dark, so my dad didn't want to get attacked by him there. Instead, he went back inside our house, called the police, then called our elderly neighbor to make sure they were okay while our mom took care of us kids. That is all my sister could remember from that night herself, as this was a very long time ago. Neither of us could recall anything else after that either, and the story just sort of stops right there. My father sadly passed away in the hospital, so we aren't able to ask him. Given all of that, none of us have thought to ask our mom yet, but maybe I will ask her soon. But for now, to the bald-headed creep who tried to do God knows what to my family, let's not meet.